Stanley, Scuba, Sailing, and Adventures.
I appreciate you being here with me at the Stanley, Scuba, Sailing, and Adventures World Headquarters. If this is your first time, please hit that subscribe button. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the K5 Edge Smart Drive scooter.
Let's check out the box. Long press to power on and off. Infinitely variable speed control with cruise control. Waterproof up to 50 meters. And a waterproof indicator light with real-time battery display. I'm really excited about this. I've always been intrigued by underwater scooters. I'm not sure I'd want to use one on every dive, but I certainly can see instances where they would be incredibly valuable. Perhaps when the dive site's a little further away from the boat, or there's just a lot of ground you want to cover. I understand, of course, you need to be responsible with these, and there are environmental concerns. So I will do my best to be respectful of other divers and the environment. This carrying case is really nice. Here we see the rest of the inventory, but we'll pull it out and go through everything one by one, and then read the instructions maybe later, as is usual for me. The case is really nice and sturdy. There's a double zipper. It's crush proof. The zippers operate smoothly. Nice and organized. This must be the battery charging pack. Looks like USB-C. And there's probably a power cord that plugs in the other end of that. This is the battery for the scooter. And it looks like USB-C. There are some mounting holes. And K5 battery pack. And look like some contacts there. I always look at the threads on something like this to see the quality of the machine work. Sometimes you can tell just by looking down. Looks like a couple extra gaskets. This must be the wrist lanyard. You always want to use a wrist lanyard when you have one of these scooters. They can get away from you even if they're not really high powered. This is a really nice wrist lanyard. Doesn't look like that's going to fall apart anytime soon. This is the other end of the power cord that plugs into the power brick. And this is our USB-C to USB-C charger. Here we have our universal action camera mounting bracket. And judging by the size of those screws, there's only one place that it'll fit on the scooter. And here we have another mounting ring. I assume that's for the wrist lanyard. Let's take a look at the scooter itself. It's got a little weight to it. That's where the battery contacts work. These clips that hold the battery on. Looks like a pretty simple design. One of them's a little tighter than the other. And there's our scooter. I know I'm holding it backward right now. I'm just trying to show it to you. And there's the thumb or trigger control for the accelerator. Solid design. Solid metal construction. The rubber and seals around the trigger seem very durable. Nice carrying case. And of course the user manual, which maybe I should take a glance at. Or not. Let's put the battery on. Looks like the battery can only go on in one direction. I've got those 2 contacts on the scooter and 2 contacts on the battery. Looks like it just sits on here, and then you use those clips. They flip up and over and lock down. I assume that you want to put both clips on at the same time just to get a good seal rather than clip one side and then the other. At least that's the way I've always been taught to do things. And that's it. There's the power button, which also is the mode button. So long press the power button to turn it on. There we go. And then it has 3 modes: normal, sport, and sport plus. And then you just press the power button to cycle through the modes. And then those green LEDs are your battery indicator. So there we go: normal, sport, and sport plus. While you have the accelerator engaged and you have some RPMs, if you push the power button, that will engage the cruise control. And then you can simply push the power button again to turn the cruise control off. I don't want to operate it a lot out of the water, but as you can see, it operates very smoothly. Doesn't make a lot of noise. As you know, I shoot a lot of underwater video, so I'm excited about the action camera mount and want to get that mount put on the scooter right away. So let's take a look at the mount again. We have 4 mounting screws. It appears we only need 2. And then this hex head screw for securing the action camera to the scooter. I bet a regular plastic thumb screw will also work in these same threads. We'll give that a try for sure during this video. Let's take a closer look at these screws for the action camera mount. They're very small, but I'll try to get it on camera so you can see. I believe those are a star pattern. They're small, so it's difficult for me to even see. But I'm hoping I have a tool that I can use to put those in. It didn't come with one. And here's the ring for the wrist lanyard. And that looks like I'll just be able to twist that in. And it appears there are a couple different places that you can mount the wrist lanyard. There are 2 on top here, the 2 smaller holes being for the GoPro mount. And there's also one underneath. I'll start up here and see how that feels once I get it in the water. I think that one will be pretty easy to move. Again, it looks like there are 3 positions for this wrist lanyard mount. And I'll just throw it on here for now and adjust it later, once I get it in the water and see where it's most comfortable. Probably need to go ahead and top off the battery. When we turned it on, it looked like it had about 50% charge. So we'll see what that looks like on the charger. Take our battery back off. Unclips pretty easily. And removes fairly easily. And that's it. I guess you just plug this in. And there we go. And it indicates, yeah, like I said, it's about 50%. We'll plug that back in a minute. And those extra gaskets look like they go here on the back of the scooter. So there's one on, and the kit comes with 2 additional O-rings or gaskets. That gasket looks a little dry. I think I'll put just a touch of silicone on it. As luck would have it, I found a star driver that fits the mounting screws for the action camera mount perfectly. Look at that. Better lucky than good. I actually found this driver in my computer kit. So if you have tools you use to work on computers, the size of that star screw is very similar to screws you will find inside of a computer case. And the screws thread in very easily. As I mentioned at the beginning, I always look at the way the threads are designed. You can tell a lot of times just by looking inside the quality of the machine work. The screws thread in easily and snug down firmly. And that's it. Have that action camera mount right on the front of the underwater scooter. I'll have to decide if I want to use that hex head screw or just a regular thumb screw. I know there's going to be a lot of resistance on that camera, and you probably really need to snug it down so the camera doesn't get pushed back by the forward momentum of the scooter. But I'm really curious just to see if a regular thumb screw will work on there. There's that hex head driver again. Hopefully you'll have one or be able to find one. Now I'll quickly find an action camera thumb screw and we'll give it a try just to see if that thread size and count is the same. And it looks like it is. Threads in nice and easily. So you'll definitely have options for the action camera screw. All right, let's get it in the water and see how it does. Patience is a virtue, and I have all of the others. Just kidding. The weather's been bad. It's been cold, so I wanted to get this thing in the water, and I went to a hotel pool to give it a whirl. I promise you I will get it out on a dive and do some additional underwater testing, but I was anxious to get started. Here is the scooter on the normal setting, and you can see when I'm above water there's quite a bit of drag. And here's the scooter on the sport setting. Again, I'm dragging behind it above the water. And then lastly, we'll take a spin with the scooter on the Sport Plus mode. Again, with me at the surface dragging behind it. So in these first couple scenarios, really creating quite a bit of drag. And I'm a big guy, so keep that in mind. A lot faster underwater. And this pool is small, so by the time you get going, you almost have to stop. But it does get cruising. And I guess I ran it for off and on an hour at least, maybe more. And I think I still had 50% battery by the time I was done.
Pretty fun. Definitely the Sport Plus underwater and the cruise control mode is a lot more fun. And when you're on top of the water, you can really feel the drag. There's a lot more drag. So underwater, it performs a lot better.
Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment.